Good afternoon, my name is Valeria Elizondo and I'm going to talk about chapter 3 that is called the Biosphere. Biologists refer to biosphere as a life on Earth, and the biosphere contains every organism, from bacteria to animals in different ecosystems and humans. Organisms in the biosphere interact with each other and with their environment. The study of these interactions is called ecology. Ecological studies may focus on levels of organization that include species, population, community, ecosystem, biome, and biosphere. A species is a group of similar organisms that can breed and produce fertile offspring. A population is a group of individuals that belong to the same species and live in the same area. An assemblage of different populations that live together in a defined area is called a community. All the organisms that live together in a place, together with their physical environment, is known as an ecosystem. A biome is a group of ecosystems that share similar climates and typical organisms. And finally, our entire planet, with all its organisms and physical environments, is known as the biosphere. Environmental conditions include biotic factors and abiotic factors. The biological influences on organisms are called biotic factors. A biotic factor is any living part of the environment with which an organism might interact, including animals, plants, mushrooms, and bacteria. Physical components of an ecosystem are called abiotic factors. An abiotic factor is any non-living part of the environment, such as sunlight, heat, precipitation, humidity, wind, or water currents. Regardless of their tools, modern ecologists use three methods in their work: observation, experimentation, and modeling. Living systems operate by expending energy. Only algae, certain bacteria, and plants can capture energy from sunlight or chemicals and convert it into forms that living cells can use. These organisms are called autotrophs, and autotrophs are also called primary producers. The best known and most common primary producers harness solar energy through the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis captures light energy and uses it to power chemical reactions that convert carbon dioxide and water into oxygen and energy-rich carbohydrates such as sugars and starches. Then we have chemosynthesis, that is a process in which chemical energy is used to produce carbohydrates. Heterotrophs must acquire energy from other organisms by ingesting them in one way or another. Heterotrophs are also called consumers. Consumers are classified by the ways in which they acquire energy and nutrients. First, we have carnivores, that are the ones that kill and eat other animals. Then we have herbivores, that are the ones that obtain energy and nutrients by eating plant leaves, roots, seeds, or fruits. Then we have scavengers, that are the animals that consume the carcasses of other animals that have been killed by predators or have died of other causes. Then we have the omnivores, that are the animals whose diets naturally include a variety of foods that usually include both plants and animals. Then we have decomposers, that are the ones that feed by chemically breaking down organic matter. And finally, detritivores, that are the ones that often chew or grind detritus particles into even smaller pieces. In every ecosystem, primary producers and consumers are linked through feeding relationships. A food chain is a series of steps in which organisms transfer energy by eating and being eaten. In most ecosystems, feeding relationships are much more complicated than the relationships described in a single simple chain. Ecologists call this network of feeding interactions a food web. Each step in a food chain or food web is called a trophic level. Primary producers always make up the first trophic level. Various consumers occupy every other level, and one way to illustrate the trophic levels in an ecosystem is with an ecological pyramid. Ecological pyramids show the relative amount of energy or matter contained within each trophic level in a given food chain or food web. There are three different types of ecological pyramids: pyramids of energy, pyramids of biomass, and pyramids of number. Pyramids of energy show the relative amount of energy available at each trophic level of a food chain or food web. A pyramid of biomass illustrates the relative amount of living organic matter available at each trophic level in an ecosystem. A pyramid of numbers shows the relative number of individual organisms at each trophic level in an ecosystem.